Hello, welcome to SoundersFC.com with me, Ross Fletcher. Time for another CenturyLink scouting report. It's been a while, hasn't it? The Sounders back in MLS action after a 3-week break, and it's a toughie to go all the way to the East Coast to face DC United, who've been totally reinvented and rejuvenated from last year's record low number of wins. They only got 3 victories last season, which is an MLS all-time low. This year, they're vying for the Supporters' Shield. They're top of the Eastern Conference, 7 points behind the Sounders. It's first against second. They're led by Ben Olsen, who held on to his job despite last year's problems. He now has more allocation money, or he did at the start of the season, because of the lowly position that DC United had, and also by the virtue of winning the US Open Cup. Olsen spent his money wisely. I reckon he brought in 10 starting caliber players to his squad. Chief amongst them, Eddie Johnson, who we'll talk about more in a moment, but first, Fabian Espindola. Didn't really settle in New York last year, but had a terrific few years in Real Salt Lake. He carried that form on from RSL this season with 7 goals and 8 assists, the most creative force on the DC team. But this week, a massive miss. He's got a knee injury and is out for around 6 weeks. That's a huge hole for DC to fill because of the creative void. So, will more rest on the shoulders of Eddie Johnson? It's his first game since leaving the Sounders to become a DP in the East Coast. He's got 1 goal in 12 games. It's not the return he would have wanted so far, but that doesn't tell the whole story. If you've been watching his progress, you might have seen some pretty controversial comments in the last couple of months, where he tried to explain his new role at DC. I didn't see anything particularly wrong with them. He was just trying to say how he has to work harder for DC because they play a different type of game to the Sounders. He's doing more running this season, has to work harder as DC press higher off the ball. That's because they don't have the same creative players as the Sounders do, so they look to win possession higher up the field and try and take sides by surprise. Johnson got that only goal, almost ironically, in the week that he was left off the US men's national team roster. We know all about his pace. Can he get in behind the Sounders and finish? That will be key. A couple of other old connections from Seattle. Jeff Park, although he's missed the last 2 games with a foot injury, a steady presence in central defence, and will Alex Kasky get some minutes off the bench? Either way, first against second, it's a big test for Seattle with a long road travel. You can watch the game 3:30 for the pre-match show this Saturday on Joe TV. I'll have the radio call as well alongside Taylor Graham on 97.3 Cairo FM. I'm Ross Fletcher, and that's your CenturyLink scouting report here on SoundersFC.com.